Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! Griffin stared at his reflection in the bathroom mirror, the soft glow of the overhead light casting shadows across his face. His auburn hair, neatly combed back, framed features that had always felt a bit too delicate for the role he played in the world. For months now, this private space had been his sanctuary, where he shed the constraints of his daily life and slipped into something more true. The dresses hidden in the back of his closet, the makeup tucked away in a drawer, these were his secrets, indulged only behind closed doors. He'd started small, just experimenting with fabrics and colors that felt right against his skin. But lately, he'd taken it further, methodically shaving his arms and legs, reveling in the smoothness that made everything feel more authentic. It was a quiet rebellion, one that no one else knew about. At the office, he was careful. Long-sleeved, button-down shirts became his armor, concealing the changes beneath. He worked as a data analyst in a bustling tech firm, surrounded by colleagues who saw him as reliable, unassuming Griffin. The days blurred into routines of spreadsheets and meetings, but underneath it all, the secret hummed like a constant undercurrent. He avoided anything that might draw attention, keeping his sleeves tugged down, his posture straight. It worked, mostly. Until that company lunch. The cafeteria was alive with chatter, trays clattering as people settled into seats. Griffin sat with his team, picking at a salad while conversations flowed around him. Lisa, the project manager with her sharp wit and easy smile, was across from him, animatedly discussing the latest client pitch. As he reached for his water glass, his sleeve rode up just a fraction, exposing the smooth skin of his forearm. It was a fleeting moment, but Lisa's eyes caught it. She tilted her head, her fork pausing mid-air. "Hey, Griffin, did you start shaving your arms? That's interesting. Any particular reason?" The words hung in the air, and Griffin froze. His heart pounded, a rush of heat flooding his cheeks. The table went quiet for a beat, everyone waiting for his response. He stammered something vague about trying a new grooming routine, but inside, panic swirled. Had she seen through him? Did she suspect? The rest of the lunch passed in a blur, his mind racing. That night, alone in his apartment, he paced the living room, the incident replaying like a loop. Denying it felt like burying a part of himself deeper, but embracing it, that could change everything. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the closet where his true self waited. No more hiding. It was time to live as Georgia. The next morning, Georgia stood before the mirror, her auburn hair falling in soft waves around her shoulders. She'd let it grow out over the months, and now it felt like a natural extension of who she was becoming. She chose a subtle women's blouse in a pastel blue, the fabric light and flowing, paired with her usual slacks to ease into the change. No dramatic overhaul, just a step. At the office, heads turned subtly as she walked to her desk. The blouse caught the light, its gentle hue standing out against the sea of neutral tones. Colleagues glanced, some offering polite smiles, others whispering. By midday, questions bubbled up.
"New shirt, Griffin?
Looks nice," one said. But she corrected them gently, her voice steady. "Actually, it's Georgia now. I'm transitioning." The words hung there, but the response was warmer than she'd feared. Her manager pulled her aside for a supportive chat, assuring her of the company's inclusive policies. Lisa, the one who'd sparked it all, approached with a genuine hug. "I'm so glad you felt safe sharing this. If you need anything, I'm here." Over the following weeks, Georgia integrated more changes. She added earrings, small and silver, that dangled just enough to catch the eye. Her makeup started subtle. A touch of foundation, a hint of mascara to accentuate her eyes. The office adapted, pronouns shifting naturally in conversations. Team meetings included her as Georgia without hesitation, and she found herself contributing more confidently, her ideas flowing freer now that she wasn't hiding. One afternoon, during a brainstorming session for a new app feature, Georgia sketched out a user interface idea on the whiteboard. Her auburn hair slipped forward as she drew, and she tucked it back with a graceful motion. "What if we make the navigation more intuitive, like this?" she suggested, her voice carrying a new lilt. The team nodded, impressed. After the meeting, a newer colleague, Mark, lingered. "Georgia, that was brilliant. I've been meaning to say, welcome to being you." It was moments like these that solidified her path. No going back, no slipping into old habits. She was Georgia now, fully. Evenings at home became rituals of affirmation. She'd slip into comfortable skirts and tops, experimenting with styles that felt right. Her auburn hair, which she'd always kept trimmed short before, now reached her shoulders, and she loved running her fingers through it. One night, she invited Lisa over for coffee, a tentative step toward deeper friendships. They sat on the couch, steaming mugs in hand. "Tell me more about your journey," Lisa said softly. Georgia opened up, sharing how the crossdressing had started as a whisper of curiosity and grown into this profound need. Lisa listened without judgment, sharing her own stories of self-discovery. It bonded them, turning a coworker into an ally. As months passed, Georgia's wardrobe evolved further. She incorporated skirts into her work attire, knee-length and professional, in soft pastels that complemented her auburn hair. The office buzzed with positive energy. HR even organized a diversity workshop, inspired by her courage. During one such session, Georgia shared her story anonymously through a submitted note, and the facilitator read it aloud. The room filled with applause, and she felt a swell of pride. Challenges arose, of course. Awkward bathroom encounters or the occasional misgendering from a forgetful vendor, but her colleagues corrected them swiftly, creating a shield of support. On a crisp autumn day, Georgia attended her first company retreat as herself. The event was held at a lakeside conference center with team-building activities and workshops. She wore a flowing blouse in lavender, her auburn hair tied back in a loose ponytail. During a group hike, she chatted with the CEO, who praised her recent project contributions. "Georgia, your insights have been invaluable," he said. It was validation she hadn't known she craved. That evening, around a bonfire, stories were shared. When it was her turn, she spoke of her transition, the firelight dancing on her face. The group listened intently, and afterward, several approached with words of encouragement. Back at the office, Georgia took on more responsibilities. She led a small team on a data visualization project, her confidence blooming. Her auburn hair, now a signature part of her look, often drew compliments. "It suits you perfectly," a colleague said one day. She smiled, feeling seen. Socially, things expanded too. She joined a local support group for transgender individuals, all adults navigating similar paths. There, she met Elena, a graphic designer with a warm laugh. They bonded over shared experiences, meeting for coffee weekly. Elena's advice on voice training and mannerisms helped Georgia refine her presentation, always remaining true to her feminine self. One challenging week, a client meeting went awry. The external partner was brusque, misgendering her repeatedly despite corrections. Georgia held her ground, her auburn hair framing a determined expression. "Please address me as Georgia," she stated firmly. The meeting concluded tensely, but her team rallied around her afterward. "You handled that with grace," Lisa said. It was a reminder that not every space was as supportive as her office, but it only strengthened her resolve. She dove deeper into advocacy, volunteering to speak at a company panel on inclusivity. Holidays approached, and Georgia decided to host a small gathering at her apartment. She decorated with string lights and fresh flowers, her auburn hair styled in elegant waves. Friends from work and the support group arrived, filling the space with laughter. They played games, shared meals, and toasted to new beginnings. It was the first time she'd felt truly at home in her skin, surrounded by people who saw her as Georgia without question. As winter set in, Georgia pursued medical steps in her transition. She consulted with a doctor, discussing hormone therapy. The appointments were thorough, filled with questions and reassurances. Starting the regimen brought subtle changes. Her skin softened further, her features refined. At work, she shared updates sparingly, but the support remained steadfast. One morning, looking in the mirror, she marveled at how her auburn hair contrasted beautifully with her evolving appearance. It was a constant, a thread of continuity in her transformation. Spring brought new opportunities. The company promoted her to senior analyst, recognizing her growth. In her new role, she mentored juniors, offering guidance with empathy. During a training session, she wore a pastel pink blouse, her auburn hair pulled into a neat bun. "Remember, authenticity drives innovation," she told them. Outside work, she explored hobbies that aligned with her identity, joining a book club focused on women's literature, where discussions delved into themes of self-empowerment. One evening, while walking home, Georgia reflected on how far she'd come. The city lights twinkled, and a gentle breeze tousled her auburn hair. No more secrets, no more hiding. She was Georgia, fully and irrevocably. But as summer neared, a new project loomed, a high-stakes collaboration with an international firm. Rumors swirled about potential mergers, and tensions rose. Georgia threw herself into preparations. Her auburn hair often swept back as she pored over data late into the night. During a preliminary video call, the partner's representative seemed off, their questions probing in ways that felt invasive. "Tell us about your background," they pressed, eyes narrowing. Georgia answered professionally, but unease lingered. The project kicked off with an on-site visit. Georgia arrived at the partner's headquarters, dressed in a subtle women's blouse in mint green, her auburn hair neatly styled. The meetings were intense, filled with negotiations and strategy sessions. She noticed subtle glances, whispers behind hands. One executive, an older man named Harlan, pulled her aside.
"Interesting choice of attire,"
he commented slyly. Georgia stood tall, refusing to waver. As the days progressed, challenges mounted, deadlines tightened, and miscommunications arose. Georgia coordinated with her team back home, her voice steady over calls. But late one night, reviewing documents in her hotel room, she discovered discrepancies. Data that didn't add up, hinting at something underhanded. Her auburn hair fell across her face as she leaned closer to the screen, heart racing. Was this deliberate? Confronting it could unravel the deal, but ignoring it felt wrong. The next morning, during a group presentation, Georgia raised the issue diplomatically. "I've noticed inconsistencies here. Can we clarify?" The room tensed, Harlan's face reddening. Accusations flew, and the meeting devolved into chaos. As she left the building, a sense of foreboding settled. Back at her hotel, a mysterious email arrived, anonymous and threatening. "Back off or you'll regret it." Georgia's mind whirled. Who could it be? She confided in Lisa over the phone, her auburn hair disheveled from stress. "This feels bigger than a simple error." The project hung in the balance, and with it, her career. As she prepared for the next confrontation, uncertainty loomed. Would uncovering the truth expose more than just business secrets? Weeks turned into a whirlwind of investigations. Georgia worked closely with her company's legal team, poring over records. Her auburn hair, often tied back in haste, became a symbol of her determination. Late-night sessions revealed patterns of manipulation, pointing toward internal sabotage at the partner's firm. Harlan emerged as a key suspect, his motives tied to personal gain. In a pivotal meeting, Georgia presented her findings, her pastel blouse a quiet statement of poise amid the storm. "These alterations could compromise everything," she stated. The room erupted in debate, but evidence mounted in her favor. Yet, as resolutions neared, a personal twist emerged. Harlan approached her privately, his tone shifting to desperation. "You don't understand the pressures I'm under." Georgia listened, but stood firm. The ordeal tested her, drawing on every ounce of resilience she'd built since embracing her identity. Support from colleagues bolstered her, with Lisa flying in for moral support. Together, they navigated the fallout, ensuring the project realigned ethically. But just as closure seemed imminent, a new email arrived, this one with attachments, photos of Georgia from before her transition, dredged up from old social media. The sender's message was clear. "Reveal this, or we expose you." Her auburn hair framed a face pale with shock. Who had access to this? The threat struck at her core, challenging the life she'd built. With the merger's fate, and her privacy, hanging by a thread, Georgia faced a decision that could change everything. She reached out to her support network, gathering strength. Elena from the group offered advice, reminding her of her inner power. "You've come this far. Don't let fear pull you back." Georgia nodded, her auburn hair catching the light as she paced. The next day, she confronted Harlan directly, demanding answers. His denial rang hollow, but clues pointed elsewhere, to a disgruntled employee within her own company, jealous of her rise. Investigations deepened, involving HR and external auditors. Georgia's days filled with interviews and evidence collection, her feminine attire a constant amid the chaos, skirts and blouses in soothing pastels, her auburn hair styled impeccably. The process was grueling, emotions running high. One evening, alone in her office, tears welled as she considered the vulnerability of her past being weaponized. Yet, she persevered. Allies rallied, with the CEO personally assuring her protection. "Your safety and dignity come first," he said. As leads solidified, the culprit was identified, a junior analyst named Trent, motivated by resentment. Confrontation loomed in a mediated session, tensions palpable. During the meeting, Trent confessed, citing envy over Georgia's promotion. Apologies followed, but the damage lingered. The company implemented stricter policies, and Georgia emerged stronger, her transition story inspiring broader changes. But as she wrapped up the project, a final twist arrived. A call from an unknown number, voice disguised.
"This isn't over. Watch your back."
Her auburn hair swayed as she hung up, a chill running through her. What more could be coming? The merger proceeded, but shadows of doubt remained, hinting at larger forces at play. In the aftermath, Georgia focused on healing. She attended therapy sessions, discussing the emotional toll. Her auburn hair, now longer, symbolized growth. Socially, she deepened bonds, hosting more gatherings where laughter drowned out worries. Work stabilized, with her leading innovative initiatives. One weekend, she volunteered at a transgender advocacy event, sharing her experiences. The crowd applauded, and she felt empowered. Yet, subtle anomalies persisted, odd glances from strangers, misplaced files. Paranoia or reality? She confided in Lisa, who suggested vigilance. As fall returned, a new opportunity arose, a speaking engagement at an industry conference. Georgia prepared meticulously, her pastel blouse pressed, auburn hair shining. The event was a success, her talk on diversity in tech resonating. But during the Q&A, a questioner in the back row asked pointedly about her past life, eyes gleaming with malice. Security escorted them out, but the incident unnerved her. Back home, she discovered her apartment door ajar, nothing stolen but papers rifled. Her heart pounded. Someone was targeting her personally. Calling the authorities, she reported it, but evidence was scant. Determined not to retreat, Georgia enhanced her security, always presenting as her true self. Support from friends grew, with Elena moving in temporarily for company. Together, they pieced together clues, suspecting a network tied to Harlan's associates. The investigation escalated, involving private detectives. Hope you enjoyed the story so far. The rest will be available on Patreon.